I will seriously consider withdrawing the United States from NATO. With just that half-joking, half-serious remark, Donald Trump has managed to throw 35 of the world's leading nations into a frenzy today, forcing them to urgently convene to discuss reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Countries like the UK, France, Germany, Italy, South Korea, and Japan, all major players have come together. Strangely, however, there is no U.S. representative at this meeting, even though the United States is the country most directly and heavily involved in the conflict around Hormuz. Without U.S. coordination, it's unclear how these countries intend to effectively work together. France's stance in particular stands out. Just yesterday, Donald Trump posted a message harshly criticizing France for refusing to allow U.S. aircraft to fly over its territory. He was clearly furious and even ended his statement with what sounded like a warning. Remember this, France. One might expect France to back down after that, but not at all. Today, France confidently reiterated that it will not participate in military action against Iran. Their reasoning is straightforward. When you decided to attack Iran, did you consult us? Now that you're facing consequences and the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, you expect us to jump in? You made this mess, now deal with it. So far, Trump has not responded, but it's clear that even U.S. allies are growing increasingly frustrated with him. His unpredictability is wearing thin. Since taking office, he has clashed with nearly every country, including long-standing allies. And it's not just allies. Even within the United States, patience is running out. Trump himself has acknowledged this. What disappointed many people most, however, was his much-anticipated prime-time speech. It was heavily promoted, scheduled at a peak hour, and people expected something significant or new enough to drop everything and tune in. But in the end, there was nothing new. The speech was essentially a compilation of his previous statements posted online. The key questions the world cares about: what are the U.S. objectives? Will there be a ground invasion of Iran? When will U.S. troops withdraw? Were left unanswered. This lack of clarity has left many feeling underwhelmed. There's simply nothing new to discuss. Perhaps because of these internal tensions within NATO and growing opposition at home, Iran has become increasingly vocal in pushing back against Trump. Every time Trump makes a statement, Iran responds, often not with words, but with actions. When Trump claimed Iran had very few missile launchers left, Iran immediately launched a wave of missiles toward Israel. When he said Iran would be sent back to the Stone Age within weeks, Iran's military responded by declaring it would fight until the U.S. and Israel surrender. This puts Trump in a difficult position, what you might call a no-win scenario. Continue the war, and it's unclear what more can be achieved, since Iran is already heavily damaged. But Iran hasn't surrendered. Withdraw now, and it risks looking like a failure. At the same time, the longer the U.S. stays, the higher the cost while the returns are minimal. Iran has already suffered extensive losses, including many of its leaders. Meanwhile, Iran is playing a different game: psychological pressure. If it can't strike top leaders, it targets anything remotely connected to its adversaries, U.S. Military bases in the Middle East, energy infrastructure, and commercial shipping. Any vessel passing through the Strait of Hormuz becomes a potential target. This has angered regional countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE to the point where they are considering joining the conflict alongside the U.S., a clear sign of how tense the situation has become. What's more, Iran is actively disproving Trump's claims through action. When Trump said Iran's navy was no longer a threat, Iran continued to disrupt the Strait of Hormuz, forcing multiple countries to negotiate for safe passage. When he claimed Iran had run out of missile launchers, missiles still struck targets, even setting parts of Israel ablaze. Then there's the issue of nuclear weapons. Trump justified the conflict by claiming Iran posed a nuclear threat. But so far, no concrete evidence has been presented, no uranium stockpiles seized, no definitive proof shown. And as for regime change, that objective seems to have quietly faded away. There's still no sign of a replacement leadership in Iran. At this point, many of Trump's public statements simply haven't held up. Everyone knows Iran is weakened, but the problem is, it's not defeated. That's why Iran has no incentive to negotiate. Iran's objective is clear: make the U.S. pay a heavy price and push forward with acquiring nuclear capabilities. The U.S., on the other hand, appears to lack a clear, consistent goal. And perhaps that's understandable. Making bold claims without being able to follow through would only invite ridicule. This leaves Trump stuck in an awkward position, neither able to push forward decisively nor withdraw without consequences. That's why his recent speech contained nothing new, because even he may not yet know how to resolve this situation. And with growing pressure from political opponents and the public, the challenge is only becoming more intense.